and Nyla, which was impressive to see these semifinals. SPD, you said it when we were chatting before the show. So hard to book these semifinal matchups.
I went back
and I feel like Ruby winning is a bit of a surprise, a little bit of an upset. Do you guys agree?
Kind of to a point. I think that Ruby's gotten since she's been in AEW, she's gotten a lot of opportunities and a lot of big moments. And I think that this tournament's been a big just elevation of her. I think that they know that she's talented, she's popular with the fans, and putting her in these situations is just going to make the women's division better. The good thing too is that Nyla is a former champ, and Nyla has beating somebody like Nyla is always a benchmark for a talent.
A gatekeeper, brother.
She's the gatekeeper. We call her that for a reason. And
when gate has been opened for Ruby Soho.
Exactly, it puts her in an upper echelon of talent in the division. And I think that that's necessary. I think that's needed. We just talked about how DMD, sometimes through a title reign, there's been some struggles because of not her, but the lack of opponents that were set up prior to her winning that belt. Part of that's because there's only one women's match per Dynamite, and that's
good point.
Before really Rampage. Before Rampage, there was one match on TV per week for the women. And so it's hard to build a division like that. Now there's two, and we see the dividends. It's paying off. Like people like Ruby Soho get more TV time because there's more matches, there's more opportunities.
Yeah, really great point.
And she's had matches on Rampage. So this is just another example of Tony Khan building it the right way. It was a slow build at times, but I think that we're finally starting to see the payoffs, and this is a payoff right here.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, this one, as we've talked before this, like, it shouldn't have been a surprise when Ruby Soho emerged in the AEW landscape when we were there live in Chicago. Like, she instantly was in the main event.
Connects with the crowd.
So, to continue to push her into that main event picture, even though I think we can collectively agree we don't necessarily think she could win. She's not going to win this tournament unless there is. I think Jade is the clear favorite now. But it makes sense, like Jade versus Ruby in the finals. I think
it also makes sense Thunder versus Ruby in the finals
because
they were the last two in the women's.
Made sense, yeah.
They were the last two in the women's battle royal.
You're right.
I mean, let's be honest, and if we're gonna be really honest with each other, we all think that Jade is a superstar. But if we're talking pure wrestling, if we're talking pure matchup. Ruby versus Thunder in the ring would be freaking fired.
Money.
It would be.
I mean, that would be a badass match.
You're right.
And those women would tear each other apart. I agree that Jade feels like the favorite, and I don't want to play devil's advocate too much, but I mean, the Thunder Rosa fanatic in me wants to point out, hey, there's history on if AEW wanted to, they could lean into some real history between Ruby and Thunder. And how often have we seen Thunder Rosa challenge some of the best women in the world, not just in AEW, but in the world of pro wrestling?
You're right.
Having her go toe to toe with Ruby for the TBS title would be compelling stuff. Now, SPD, I agree. The common narrative does feel like TBS, that bitch show. It's gonna be Jade's belt, but
lean into that right now. Capitalize on it.
I understand. I get it. But I see that there's more, and it's a good thing. There's lots of options in the women's division for once, and that feels really, really good.
It does. And, I don't remember if it was U-Bonds or Crayfish, but you guys said that Ruby is a sleeper of this tournament. And as the announcer teams has said, they said she's had the toughest path to date, which obviously she didn't have a bye. But to me, this match, I'm back on the Nyla Rose fan, the wagon, because I think I really enjoy her matches. I enjoy her methodical offense, her pacing, and I like the fact that she's aggressive, and I like that she'll take heavy bumps. And she'll deliver. She'll take what she delivers. She delivers aggressive offense, but not only that, but she'll be happily take it. That chair shot to the face, that was a pretty brutal match. But then she turns around and then does that. The knee drop off the top rope to me is one of the more brutal cool visuals where you're just like hanging there on like a rotisserie chicken over the top rope, and all of a sudden a knee on the back on your back, like just gets springboard over. So I'm all for that. You know, I'm anxious to see where Nyla Rose goes next in a feud, because I think, like you talk about building division, like that's a perfect person to develop a sub feud, non-gold belt related, with a lot of baby faces. You have this heel run by her where she just can go through baby faces, but Ruby Soho versus whomever it's going to be in the finals, it's going to be fun. And I think that's a perfect, whether it be the only babyface or babyface versus babyface, it makes most sense. Like Thunder's path makes the most sense to get to Ruby, but also Jade's path, like going through, rising, and it'll be fun where it's like Jade heel, Ruby babyface, kind of two new people in AEW. I don't know. I'm all for it, man. I think the booking of this tournament is going to be very interesting how it plays out. But
I love hearing you so positive about the women's division too. I mean, it's a lot of positivity coming out of you about the women's division, and that's not, what a 180 from the beginning of this year. The women's division has really turned you around, and you are a huge advocate for it now, and that's awesome. I love hearing that.